No safe takes, no soft landings.
Why me? Why now?
At this moment, Nigerian Bar Association is at a difficult space.
Real stakes and only sharp minds.
When you talk about living wage today, I'm the progenitor of it.
I think the MBA should think outside the box. Own land, own a conference center, for instance. Invest in a conference center, earn money all year round, and use that to subsidize the cost of the conferences.
If your logic is weak, it fails. If your logic is solid, it stands.
I want to be remembered as a leader who brought back all the welfare initiatives we used to have and institutionalized those welfare initiatives.
I want to be remembered as somebody who makes sure that every lawyer has a living wage that he's entitled to.
I want to be remembered as someone who just wasn't the first female to be elected president of the NBA, wasn't the last.
This is the court of law. I am Timi Agbaje. I have the aspirants for the office of the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, 2026. Why you and why now?
My name is Oyinkansola Badejo-Okusanya. To the glory of God, a senior advocate of Nigeria.
My name is Olumuyiwa Akinboro. I'm a senior advocate of Nigeria. I'm a life bencher. I'm a chartered arbitrator. I'm a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Management. I'm a Harvard-trained negotiator.
This is Lateef Omoyemi Akangbe, a senior advocate of Nigeria, a past chairman of the Lagos branch of the Nigerian Bar Association.
Why me? Why now? I think the bar is at a defining moment, a time when lawyers feel economically pressured, feel that there isn't much hope for them as far as the MBA is concerned. Everywhere I've been over the last few months and years, I keep hearing the same question. What does the MBA do for me? That is the question that my campaign seeks to answer. Over 2 decades of experience as a legal practitioner, I've had the privilege of working in both the public and the private sector. I understand reforms. I understand how to build policies from the ground up. And that is why my campaign is centered around a central theme: a bolder bar that works for everyone, a bar that puts members first, a bar that has one voice for the bar, a bar that creates opportunities for its members to thrive. This is my offering. I believe that the leadership style that I propose to bring is one that will enable all lawyers to engage with the MBA in a much more relevant manner, in a manner that makes sense to them thriving professionally. 3 pillars: earn better, live better, practice better. This is what I think the MBA should be to its members. And this is what I propose to bring to the table. I'm not seeking to make history. I'm just seeking to lead a bar that works for everyone. A bar that is much more transparent in its dealings. A bar that is responsive to its members. A bar that appreciates that it has different colorations of members: female lawyers, lawyers with disability, lawyers in the corporate service, lawyers in the public service, lawyers in the academia, and meets each one of these categories of lawyers at their points of need. That's the kind of bar that I believe we deserve. That is the kind of bar that I hope to lead. And I hope that as lawyers give me their mandate, that is what they should expect from me. That is the promise that they should hold me to. A bolder bar that works for everyone. Thank you.
Standing before you today to tell you why me and why now. Why do I think that it is time for me to run for the presidency of Nigerian Bar Association? At this moment, the Nigerian Bar Association is at a difficult space. We are in a position where most of our young lawyers, in fact, most practitioners, could hardly point to anything that the bar is doing for them. There's a total disconnect between the members at the bar, and there is growing discontent among members. Everybody thinks all we do in the Nigerian Bar Association is politicking, going around government and soliciting here and there without any benefit for its members. This has brought me out, and that is why it is me, because I have a vision. I have a vision to reposition, to rebuild, and to restore. Repositioning the association to its rightful place that it belongs to, restore our glory that we are all known for, the glory of Nigerian Bar Association. When we talk about people like Aare, that make people think Nigerian Bar Association is something that is what is named. And also to rebuild from where we are and take Nigerian Bar Association to the heights that it belongs. I have a mission, and the mission is simple: to make sure that we have a bar that cares, works, and supports its members, from the biggest to the smallest. Where the young lawyers will have a space to develop themselves, where they will have a space to grow, where they will have an opportunity open to them, where it will not be a matter of only living wages, but a matter of abundance of opportunities for all to grow in, where the older ones too will be able to feel comfortable and sit and see the bar working for them, where people will have confidence that the bar is not only there for its members only to defend the rule of law, to speak truth to power, to stand up to excesses of government. Not a bar that will be a bag or a hand for people in authority. A bar that will speak clearly. A bar that people will hear loudly and clearly. A bar people will understand and will respect, to take it back to where we belong. I hope that is my mission and that is my vision.
Why me? Why now? I believe that leadership is about improving the lives of others. Now, the big question is this: is the NBA improving our lives? Just 6 years ago, under the administration of Olumuyiwa, I remember that we had free seals, we had law pavilion for young lawyers, we had access to finance, we had a lot of other welfare initiatives under its administration. Today, we no longer have any of these things. For me, these are ideological issues. And I believe that anybody that seeks to be the leader of Nigerian Bar Association should have demonstrably good welfare credentials. And that's why I believe that at this point in time, I am the one to lead the Nigerian Bar Association, giving my belief in welfare of Nigerian lawyers, giving my track record as the chairman of Lagos branch, having demonstrated in the past the fact that the NBA is set up for two things: one, to promote and protect the rule of law; two, to promote the welfare, the interest of its members. So coming from where I was as chairman of Lagos branch and the things that I've been able to do as chairman, I believe that it is time to have someone who would restore all the welfare initiatives we had. I remember just 7 years ago as chairman of Lagos branch during the COVID era, lawyers were locked, there was lockdown. Lawyers couldn't earn money, lawyers couldn't go anywhere. I was the first person in any branch of the Nigerian Bar Association to start COVID palliatives. I ensured that under me, the welfare of my members meant so much to me that we did a collaboration and with HubMart, with ShopRite, and we ensured that food items and cash were being dropped at the doorstep of lawyers. That is welfare. That's my philosophy. I didn't stop at that. I also ensured that welfare of lawyers, right from the knowledge, the skill, the training that you require to lead the association, was made available by giving first-class training for lawyers, ensuring that young lawyers were being mentored appropriately. I did that, and I believe that at this point in time, the NBA is at a crossroad where members say to you, NBA isn't working for me. And that's why my vision is to elevate the bar. Elevating the bar, for me, is not just it's a program of action. Because it is built on a conviction that the NBA should be a single united body, that it's clear in its purpose and modern in its method of delivering real value to Nigerian lawyers, regardless of how you practice, where you practice and when you were called to the bar?
The young lawyer question. A young lawyer, 3 years post-call, practicing outside Lagos and Abuja, earning below 80,000 naira in a month. What would their professional life feel, look, and function like at the end of your tenure as president?
Let me answer that question in this way. How I would like a lawyer after my tenure to feel. I want a young lawyer to feel hope. Hope that when they work hard, there is definitely going to be light at the end of the tunnel. Hope that there is a bar association that is working for them, that has enforced and advocated for a living wage for them, that protects them from exploitative tendencies, a bar that they know they can beat their chest that works for them, that when they need help, when they need opportunities to exploit, to thrive professionally, when they need career hubs, when they need to engage in training that can help them to become future-proof and not just present-ready, the NBA is there for them. An NBA that prioritizes their well-being. An NBA that has gone the extra mile to ensure that they have health insurance that works for them. I want a lawyer to feel that the NBA is a completely different association from that which they experienced 2 years before, and one that they have hope in, that can enable them to thrive. Because let's face it, most young lawyers are just surviving. They need to thrive. Many young lawyers are disillusioned with the profession. We need to change that. And the only entity that can change that is the Nigerian Bar Association, the association that protects them professionally, that promotes them professionally, and that enables them to see that there is progress that they can engage in this profession. So that is how I would like to be seen. If at the end of my tenure, a lawyer can say, this MBA is much different and much more relevant to me than it previously was, then I would have succeeded.
I've had the opportunity to have served the association in many capacities, and one of which was the chairman of Nigerian Bar Association, Abuja branch. And when I was chairman there, I institutionalized what is called the CLE now, the ICLE, where I was able to train within the span of 2 years over 600 lawyers in areas that have made them proficient. A young lawyer that is earning 80,000 naira in Nigeria, anywhere in Nigeria, definitely is earning what I would describe as a wage that is not, cannot be described as a living wage, that may be below par. But the first thing I would do, so that at the end of the day, they will know that there is a change, is that the advocacy for living wage. One, living wage for me is a right, not a privilege. People need to be paid very well for their services. And that advocacy I'm going to take to a very high level to persuade and make sure that people realize the fact that lawyers need to be paid well. And after that, to further entrench them, I will revisit the issue of CLE. Training and specialization. The capacity to earn is not only about giving people fishes. You must teach them how to fish themselves. And if you are able to train them, make sure that the ICLE is configured that they don't have to pay before it. When I ran the CLE when I was chairman, I did it free of charge to members. That is going to come back. Lawyers will be trained free of charge. It is simple. You just need to do to have the right discussions. People are ready to do it. I have a very good friend, Tobena, who is doing something like that, and I know that he's not charging. And people like that, you can bring them on board to do a lot of things that will improve the young lawyers. The earning capacity will determine what they will remember you for. After 2 years, I want them to sit back and say, my life has been better. I want them to remember that this is something that is fantastic. Everybody talk about Olumuyiwa 6 years ago. What did he do? Free stamp, free law pavilion. By the time I'm going out of office, they will remember me for providing them co-working spaces that if you don't have an office to work, you have a place to work. They will remember me for giving them the e-library that is free of charge, that if you don't have office to work, you can access it paying your practicing fee. They will remember me for giving them electronic law reporting that is their own, not the one that they are going to pay for, not Law Pavilion. Because within 6 months of my time in office, I will make sure that we have our own electronic library accessible to members when you pay your practicing fee. I want them to remember me for something that has changed the legal space.
Thank you.
The issue of young lawyers, beyond electoral promises, beyond the rhetorics, I have demonstrated my philosophy about young lawyers. Just 7 years ago, when I was the chairman of Lagos branch, I set up a committee to look into what a living wage is for lawyers in Lagos State. That report came at the end of my tenure because of the fact that we were slowed down by the COVID lockdown. But that report was what Olumuyiwa took to the national to set up a national remuneration committee and came up with a neck white paper on the issue of a living wage. So when you talk about living wage today, I'm the progenitor of it. As far back as 7 years ago, I believed in it. Today, I still believe in it. And I tell young lawyers, the remuneration order we're talking about today, there's nothing for young lawyers to celebrate about that remuneration order because it doesn't cater for young lawyers. That report is there today, and I have a pact with all the young lawyers in Nigeria. When I get there, that is the first report I'm going to pick up, and I'm going to ensure that we implement it so that by the end of my tenure, young lawyers in Nigeria would not only have a living wage as salary, but the entire condition of service for young lawyers by ensuring that every young lawyer in Nigeria would have a letter of employment in which their condition of service will be included in it. Beyond that, I didn't stop at that. I ensured that young lawyers are provided with the skills that you need to excel in modern day practice. What did I do? I set up a collaboration with the Challenge for Arbitrators, come and train young lawyers in the field of arbitration. That is welfare. That is giving lawyers not just fish, but out of fish. I have demonstrated my philosophy when it comes to issue of remuneration for young lawyers. So at the end of my tenure, young lawyers in Nigeria, under the ICLE, under me, would get A-class trainings, would get free trainings, and would get subsidized training for certification courses. Mentorship will be institutionalized. Under me, I had a one-to-one mentorship in Lagos branch at the time. I had group mentorship in Lagos at the time. I've shown you my philosophy when it comes to issue of remuneration. I believe the association must work for young lawyers. It's not enough to say that the future of practice, future of what? We bring them into the profession and they're made to hustle. I've demonstrated the association must give back, must invest in them. That's the only way we can say the young lawyers are the future of tomorrow. So that by the end of my tenure, young lawyers in Nigeria would have moved from just being promised, being assured of the future, but they would be able to excel. The enabling environment will be created for them by giving them the necessary training, giving them the necessary equipment, the tools to work with, and also preparing them for the future. We talk about artificial intelligence every day. Everywhere you go, it's about artificial intelligence. What is the bar doing with trainings?
Thank you. You will be NBA president during the Nigerian general elections in 2027. What will the bar do to uphold the integrity of our electoral processes at all levels?
With my experience as the General Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, I know that the association has a lot of organs that work with and supervise the electoral process in Nigeria. We have the election monitoring group. We have the observer groups. I will make sure that in the process of preparation, we get involved. You see, it's not only about what you do during the election that makes an election successful or credible. Pre-election, during the election, post-election. Pre-election, we make sure that we are useful and very good support to the electoral umpire. Give them guidelines on things that are expected of them. Make sure that we organize training for political parties of what is expected of them. Make sure that the electoral umpire are put on their toes. We will not sit back and allow INEC to make, when they're making the long decision, we call them out. We speak to them, we sit down with them. we have good discussions with them. With the political parties, we do the same. And with the electorate, again, we not shy away from our responsibilities to educate them. And during the election, we make sure that our election observer groups are well prepared, trained, and deployed to everywhere to make sure that they have a first-hand knowledge and experience of what transpired on the field. And with that, we will collate our report, make sure that everything that we see there are well documented. When the issue of when it becomes a post-election issue and there are issues, we'll be there also to make sure that justice is done, that we have electoral justice in every aspect. And those are things that as an organization we make sure that we do. We make sure that our people are present even when there are even processes that could be done pre-election also, when laws are being made. The Electoral Act has just been amended. I don't know how much involved that we got as the bar. We need to be part of the process that will lead to setting up the process, during the process, and even after the process. And we are going to make sure that we are present at all levels, and also make sure that we put our eyes in everything that they are doing. Make sure that we speak when the right time we need to speak. We also guide when we need to guide, and we talk. We speak out when we see things are going wrong. We will not shy away anytime. I'll make sure that we are not in court with any political party. We will not be interested in any political party or getting too familiar with politicians, so that our voices, when we speak, will be understood it clearly as the voice of truth.
Thank you.
One of the major things I'm going to ensure that we do under my administration, is that the NBA will be principled in its public voice. The elections, the NBA already have rules they play during elections, monitoring elections, observing elections. We will continue to do that. But beyond that, we would ensure that at the end of the elections, the NBA would issue a report, which hardly gets done, and that report will be given to the umpire, given to all the candidates at the election, so that when they go to court, the report of the NBA, being a neutral observer, can also be useful in court. So we're going to move beyond just observing and monitoring. We're going to now go to a situation where we issue reports. Reports can be used in court at the election tribunals as added evidence for the petitioner. And I would ensure that at all times we remain neutral. The days where you would find the monitoring group or the observers being affiliated to one party or the other party, would ensure that we do not condone such things, so that we would be seen at all times as being neutral, being the body that protects and is promoting the rule of law. That will be the paramount consideration under my administration.
Thank you. Wow.
The bar must never become partisan. We must always be principled. And now more than ever, when public perception about our election cycle is at an all-time low, the bar has a significant role to play in increasing and improving citizens' confidence in the process. So I think that under my watch, in the 2007 electoral cycle, the bar's loyalty must be first to the Constitution, and then to the rule of law, and then to democratic institutions, the regulatory body, INEC, the judiciary, to ensure that each part does its job properly. We must be bold about our observances, bold about speaking up when it's necessary to do so, bold about the observations that we make when infractions are there. We must be able to protect those of our members that are involved in election processes that need protection. But an important part of the puzzle is that we must also be bold about calling out our members who are involved in pre- and post-election infractions, those that aid and abet the distortion of the electoral process. So the NBA, I believe, has a duty, a moral obligation, which perhaps in recent times, that voice has not been heard sufficiently loud enough. I think it's time for the NBA to take its rightful place. The citizenry needs to know that when elections come around, this is one of the tests of our democratic journey, that there's an NBA that is present and ready to speak when it needs to to call actors out and to ensure that there's fidelity to the process and thereby strengthen our democracy. Thank you.
Some people have advocated that we need not have a physical conference every year. What is your view about a biannual, that is to say, a conference, annual general conference of the Nigerian Bar Association once every 2 years?
I totally disagree. IBA have annual conference. When we go to Commonwealth Law Society yearly, WABA, AFBA yearly. What's going to make our own different? MBA conference is a platform where you provide for good networking, training, people seeing themselves. You get opportunity to refresh, to meet with your colleagues, and also prepare for the year ahead. It's a good networking platform that should not be taken away. It's a good place where young lawyers go to mentor and get to know how the association is, how the association is in real life. It's a good place where people have a good balance of you are going to have the hard part of the conference, which is the serious part, what they call the serious part, the lectures, the seminars, and you are going to also have the opportunity to relax and meet with your friends, some you have not seen in years. It's also an opportunity for people to have the holiday they may not be able to afford outside. It serves so many roles to different people, and I think that taking that opportunity away from my people will not be a step in the right direction. The reason why people are advocating for that may be simply because of funding and cost. And I think it's because we're not really thinking out of the box, and that's why we're not able to fund our conferences in the right way. We seem to be lazy about it, and we think funding must come from government, or must just right. There are so many ways of doing it. You can sell value, and I've done it before. The friendship center that you have today, I started it, and I didn't do it. I did it at no cost to MBA, and even make profit for MBA because we sold value to then Zane, and they bought into it. They branded it and make sure that we had a fantastic conference where you have different A-list artists coming every day, 5 days, not even 1 day, and we made a lot of money. So,
thank you.
The annual general conference is a flagship event of the Nigerian Bar Association over the years. So I don't think that having the annual general conference once in 2 years, I don't think it solves anything. What are the concerns? What are the issues? Why have it once in 2 years? Is it funding? What is it? You have an event that's the largest event where lawyers gather in Nigeria for training, for networking, and it's for a particular purpose, and it's purposeful and it's working for lawyers. I don't believe, a lot of people have said, maybe because of the funding required in holding a conference, it should not be held every year. I don't think so. I think that what you need to do is to find creative ways of generating funds. The NBA has money. It's just about investing it in its people, putting it in the right places. Over the last 2 years or 3 years, the AGC, there's always been surplus cash from the AGC. We can have a dedicated account where all the surplus cash are saved and it can be used for subsequent conferences. But to have it once in 2 years, I don't think it solves the matter. I think it's about being responsible about funding, being creative about raising funds, and then you have this conference every year. I think that the AGC should be a yearly event, and no administration should come and either stop it or make it to come up once in 2 years.
Thank you.
My short answer is no way. When I was called on the 14th of May 2002, 3 months later, I was attending my first conference at Ibadan in August of 2002. It was a very exciting time. Since then, I have not missed more than perhaps 2 or 3 conferences. Every year, I look forward to them. As chair of 2 consecutive annual general conferences, I understand firsthand just how much the annual conference means to members. So changing it from an annual conference to a conference that holds every 2 years would be something that would totally damaging to many lawyers that look forward to seeing their colleagues that they might not have seen throughout the year. There's nothing that is not enjoyable about the conference. Certainly, I have that experience, from the exhibition to the parties to the sessions to the on-board party. I understand the reasons for those suggestions is about cost. But I believe that with some creative thinking, we can actually afford to fund our conferences. For instance, I think the MBA should think outside the box. Own land, own a conference center, for instance, invest in a conference center, earn money all year round, and use that to subsidize the cost of the conferences. I think if we had more money, there wouldn't be any talk about that. And this is what a responsible leader should look into: how to fund our conferences by expanding our streams of income and by prudent management of the resources that we have. So definitely no to making the conferences every 2 years. Just have to find ways around making sure that they're well funded.
Thank you. Millions of Nigerians need legal representation and cannot access it. The bar has a constitutional and ethical obligation to this population. What is your specific plan to address this?
If you look at the constitution of the Nigerian Bar Association, you'd realize that the NBA is set up for many things, one of which is the promotion, protection of people's rights, human rights, and ensure that there is access to justice. And in keeping with that, the NBA has to do a lot more for the citizenry in ensuring that people know their rights. Being a lawyer is a calling. It goes beyond just the money you make for your client. You have something higher than that, which is to ensure that the society, there's law and order in society. Under me, I would ensure that the NBA plays an active role in ensuring that there is access to justice. Playing an active role goes beyond just reacting to governmental actions or public interest litigation. It starts from building systems, and I will ensure that sections such as the SPIDL that is set up for public developmental law will be there to help government, number one, to develop systems, help citizens to understand their rights, know their rights, hold legal clinics, work actively with the legal aid to ensure that indigent Nigerians are afforded access to justice. This is part of what the NBA is set up for.
Thank you.
Access to justice is at the heart of what every lawyer should hold dear. This is the heart of our moral obligation as custodians of the rule of law and promoters of democracy. And so we should take it seriously. We have various organs within the NBA and outside of the NBA so that we can partner with. For instance, the vice chair of every NBA branch is the head of the Human Rights Unit. We need a greater synergy between the National Secretariat and the Human Rights offices within the branches so that we can take the protection of citizens' rights right to where they need them. We also need to flip the coin also and ensure that not just citizens who are unable to get access to justice have that opportunity, but also that when they get to court, courts work efficiently and in a way that promotes justice for the citizens. So the NBA has a role to play. There are various organs it can partner with, and under my watch, this is certainly something that we'll do. Legal Aid Council is there. We can also partner with the Legal Aid Council. Access to justice is something that NBA must take seriously. And I believe that with the resources available, we can.
One of the major objectives of the Nigerian Bar Association is the provision of access to justice to everybody in Nigeria. And we have already in place organizations that are set up specifically for such a purpose. We have the Legal Aid Council, we have the Human Rights Commission. And on the board of those institutions, we have lawyers. In fact, the heads of those institutions are lawyers. Most of the staff there are lawyers. And the only thing, what I've discovered is that there is really no feedback mechanism from our members who are sent to go and represent us on the board of those institutions. Anytime they go there, they are just on their own. I'll make sure that there is a good feedback mechanism, and there's also going to be periodic briefing on the state of human rights and access to justice in Nigeria. I remember that when I was General Secretary, we have a conference on the access to justice in Nigeria. It will be replicated. It will bring it back so that we have periodic assessment of access to justice in Nigeria, and also make sure that the first vice president, who is the chairman of the Human Rights Committee, and also all the chairmen of the vice chairmen of branches who are chairmen of the Human Rights Committee in their respective branches, work together in synergy, and also adequately funded to be able to carry out their oversight function of making sure that access to justice in Nigeria is improved, broadened, and also entrenched. Thank you very much.
Looking ahead, in 2 years from now, what would you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered not just a president, but a leader who emancipated young lawyers from what I call modern day slavery, or what I call exploitation. I want to be seen as a leader who ran an inclusive administration where every demographic within the NBA, be it young lawyers, be it lawyers in academia, lawyers in MDAs, everybody's brought together under one roof, and we create value, real value to members. I want to be remembered as a leader who brought back all the welfare initiatives we used to have and institutionalized those welfare initiatives. How do I want to do that? I'm going to ensure that after me, nobody that comes after me will be able to take away anything that touches our welfare. We would ensure that constitution is amended in such a way that we will ring-fence any welfare initiative, and to stop it or to make a call on it, we must take it to the AGM. Members must decide on it.
I want to be remembered as the person who changed the way that members saw the bar forever. I want to be remembered for somebody whose transformative policies made it impossible for every lawyer not to find the NBA relevant in their professional endeavors. I want to be remembered for someone who prioritized the institution over personalities, who ensured that opportunities are created for all lawyers to thrive, not just survive. I want to be remembered for that leader that ensured that it set the NBA on the way to being a modern global association that helps its members to earn better, live better, and practice better. I want to be remembered as someone who just wasn't the first female to be elected president of the NBA, but wasn't the last. Thank you.
I want to be remembered as somebody that is what the trust posed on him. I want to be remembered as somebody who has done all what has been thought to be impossible. I want to be remembered for the free e-library that lawyers may enjoy. I want to be remembered for the co-working spaces that will be spread all around the nation and all our branches. I want to be remembered that for the first time in all our branches we have libraries, standard where people can go and work. I want to be remembered as somebody who makes sure that every lawyer has a living wage that is entitled to. I want to be remembered for somebody who changed the face of the nation for Nigerian lawyers and make sure that the revision order is adequately enforced. I want to be remembered as somebody that came, saw, and conquered.
To the Nigerian Bar Association, the ball is in your court. May the best person win. Special appreciation to everyone who made this possible. This is by far the toughest production we have done to make all the aspirants be in the same room at the same time. To the crew, to everyone that made it possible, the supporters and team members of the aspirants, and very importantly, the consultant of the show, Mr. Olabisi Makanjola, partner Olumuyiwa. What do you have to say?
Dear colleagues, you have listened to the presidential candidates. The ball is in your court. Vote wisely.
Thank you.